Kalista's basic attack is quite unique among League of Legends champions. Firstly, her basic attack windup is extremely long. Let's look at a normal champion. So most champions in League of Legends have a basic attack windup of about 15 to 20%. So let's just draw that. That'll be about this much. During this time, they have to stand in place. Now let's look at Kalista. Kalista's basic attack windup is actually very long. It's 36%, the second longest in the game. So that'll be about this much. In addition to the basic attack windup, Kalista also has a dash, and the dash also takes time. Now, not only is this windup and this dash time long, but it gets even longer as she builds more attack speed. This is because Kalista's basic attack windup is only reduced by 0.75% per 1% bonus attack speed, unlike normal champions where it is reduced by 1% per every 1% bonus attack speed, just like the basic attack timer itself. This means that as she builds more attack speed, her windup will be a larger and larger fraction of her total basic attack timer. So, for example, it could get as long as maybe this much. Now, this is not a problem on its own. Because of the hyperbola shape of the basic attack windup and the basic attack timer, the basic attack windup on Kalista will never get longer than the total basic attack timer. In other words, she will never lose attack speed if she stands still and auto attacks. But what if she dashes? Well, we know that the dash time is also reduced by her boots tier and attack speed. However, it is not enough. After a certain threshold of attack speed, her dash will also take time, and the total time taken will be even longer than her total basic attack timer. So after a certain amount of attack speed has been reached, her wind-up time plus the time taken to dash will be longer than the basic attack timer, and that is when standing still becomes faster than standing, attacking, and dashing. At that point, you should stand in place and auto-attack to provide the most DPS. Compare this to normal basic attacks, where the wind-up is the same percentage as the attack speed grows. And also, what is all of this time for? Well, this time is essentially free time for most champions. So during this time, most champions are able to move and, cast spells, do whatever they want. The important thing is that for most champions, the wind-up can be interrupted if you click a movement command. In addition, every champion in the game starts their basic attack timer with an attack command, of course. Now, what about Kalista? Well, you do need to start your basic attack with an attack command, of course, although it's a bit complicated, and I'll talk about that later. The main difference, however, is that the wind-up cannot be interrupted by any sort of movement click on Kalista. If you click to move on Kalista during the wind-up time, in fact, that you will set the direction of your dash. So clicking during the wind-up time means choosing the dash direction. In addition, if you choose to click an attack move during your wind-up, then you will change the target of your basic attack without interrupting the attack. That is why people say Kalista's basic attack is unstoppable. However, that's not entirely true. you can interrupt Kalista's basic attack by casting your E rend during the windup, so please don't do that. The rend has a 0.25 second cast time, and that will disrupt and stop your basic attack from going through. So when should you use your Kalista rend for maximum DPS, assuming you can reset the cooldown? Well, if you use your rend during your dash itself, then the cast time of rend and the dash animation will be merged. Therefore, there will be no delay for casting rend during your dash. Let's go back to a normal character for a moment. So most ADCs need to kite by inputting a movement command during the free time after the windup. And ideally, they should move immediately after their windup has ended. But there is one last thing about the inputs required for the Kalista basic attack. In fact, the attack command itself is optional. What you can do is you can input one attack command at the very start, and then all you need to do is only input the move clicks during the windup, and the attacks will continue to go through. So after the first attack, you don't need to A-click. In summary, the move click is all you really need after the first auto attack on Kalista. Now this is mechanically very difficult to do at lower attack speeds, but becomes easier and more optimal as you go higher and higher in attack speed. Why is this? Well, one reason is that using one input into the machine per basic attack is definitely faster and easier than inputting two commands. That's how you can kite faster and do better DPS at higher attack speeds. The other reason is, I'm not sure, but it's that doing this seems to shorten some of your animations. This is unconfirmed. This is what people have been discussing on the Reddit. Now, so all you need to, in summary, attack commands are optional after the first auto attack, and all you need to do really after the first auto is to move click to dash. And this mechanic is easier at higher attack speeds, harder at lower attack speeds, and this is known as drifting. Now this is a very obscure mechanic, it's a very niche mechanic, but in my opinion, it changes Kalista from an early game champion to an incredibly good scaling late game hyper carry. Now, what are the drawbacks of Kalista's unique basic attack? Well, the one big drawback is that her dash speed will be slowed down drastically if she gets hit with any movement speed slow or attack speed slow, also known as a cripple, such as Nasus E and Lee Sin E2. But there is one way to alleviate and avoid the penalties of these slows, and that is to not dash at all. So if you are slowed, then stand in place and auto attack. Do not dash. Now that's all for this video. So also I wanted to add actually that these mechanics apply to Kalista's basic attack, but some of these also apply to her Q, the Pierce. So in this video we compared Kalista's basic attack timer to a normal champion's basic attack timer. We compared the windups, the free time, the dash time, the inputs permitted during the windup. Remember that Kalista can input a move command during her windup to set the dash direction. We covered Kalista's increasing basic attack windup, increasing and exceeding the basic attack timer, and when to stand in place and auto attack, as well as the drifting mechanic. So here is a summary of tips to kite with Kalista. And here are the tips.